Welcome back to the Unredacted Truth, where we fill in the missing gaps in the world's largest scandals and mysteries. In a world of rumors and theories, my job is simple: uncovering the truth underneath the glitter and the grime. We are exposing a pattern: protection, power, predators, structures built not on justice, but on silence, fear, and impunity. We're not talking theory, we're talking court records, stamps, dates, testimony, and a system that, to this day, continues to fail the public and protect the predators among us. Let's get to it.
Hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Unredacted Truth. I am Sonia. How is your week starting out so far? How was your weekend? It's absolutely insane if you are following the news cycle. If not, you're protecting your sanity and your well-being. First, here I come with my BS. I know I promised you guys Andrew and Gates for this episode because last week Clinton ended up being really, really long, especially with all the tech issues that we're having that I opened up about. But Andrew's gotta wait because Mr. Gates, the Gates issue turned out to be so much more juicier than I ever thought or imagined. The twists and the turns just kept coming, but it's going to be fun. Or it was fun. Fun is I don't like using the word fun with such a heavy topic, but let's say it's going to be a very illuminating, insane, crazy episode today. This bunny rabbit, Puck Bunny, never was, but she fell down a hole so deep. It took her down trails, places. She saw things that she never thought she would or expected. And in the center of this madness is no other than the once richest man in the world with a bridge mistress who couch hops, Bill Gates. Guess he doesn't have a mistress anymore because Melinda finally did leave him. But, guys, this is juicy. This is juicy. This is going to be scandalous. I was going to say exciting, but I don't like using such adjectives for such a heavy topic. So let me get my handy dandy thesaurus and give us some new words. It's going to be illuminating, informating, not edifying. It's going to be clarifying. It's going to be revealing, educational. We're going to end up with more questions, so I stopped in explanatory, but there's a lot happening in this episode. So much so that I woke up at 8 a.m. thinking I'd knock out filming this in the morning, then touch it till 12 because I just could not stop pulling the strings. We have a zombie scientist. We have toxic alimony negotiations. We have the famous crazy horse in Paris. We have the Four Seasons. We have hush money negotiations not to be paid out by Epstein, and so much more. But first, we are going to be starting where we finished last week's roundup with the Trump-Epstein FBI files, which brings me to something else that I want to address. Going back to the tech issues from last week that I opened up about, maybe tech conspiracy, we'll see. The thing though is that was not the first time this podcast disappeared into internet purgatory. Luckily, every single time Spotify has been able to bring it back. But the first time this happened, it split the podcast into two. So it had two identical shows for a while, which was okay. But the thing though is that now we have one that has not been updating and another that has been updating. So, for all those who are listening on the other Unredacted Truth and have been stuck with the Leon Black story for months, weeks, wondering what's going on, I apologize. I have updated the library of episodes for you moving forward. We're still going to keep it. I got advice to just delete the one, but I don't want to delete that. What I'm going to do instead is that we're going to have two shows. We're going to have the Unredacted Truth Behind the Epstein Files Substack podcast, which will still have all the case file deep dives and document deep dives. So the longer form content that we've been doing. While the Unredacted Truth podcast will focus more on current topics and current events happening now rather than just following all the files and going through. And I'm sure halfway we'll have a little bit of crossover with the two of them. And I have linked the two podcasts together, so you're going to see links for each podcast and episode so you can jump back and forth. Make sure, guys, on both sides, if you're in one group, subscribe to the other. If you're in the other podcast, make sure you also follow and subscribe to the other. That is for Spotify listeners only right now. Everyone else, YouTube, everything's still the same with YouTube. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we'll be dropping new episodes continuously. Spotify will be between Monday to Friday. Sometimes the night before you will have an episode, at least to get you on your morning routine and start your day every morning, Monday to Friday. Moving forward. Minus we're going to get the grand jury transcripts a bit earlier, so that will be on Monday for Spotify and Wednesday. So Spotify will get the last grand jury podcast on Monday. YouTube will get that on Wednesday. Okay, I think we covered all that. Grab that coffee. Now, let's get to it. I'm super anxious to get started. We are going to be connecting connections that people have never connected before. We are going to be discovering new characters, meeting new characters. Buckle up, it's going to be a ride. I'm so glad the grand jury has wrapped up now. We're getting really into the thick of it because every single time I think I have a vision or a concept of how this podcast is going to go, more information comes to light. My ADHD takes over. He takes the wheel. My ADHD takes the wheel, and we end up lost in a forest, not knowing how we got there. So once again, timestamps, show notes, and links are all below, as well as a link to the Substack where I upload each and every document we discuss during the episode to continue promoting transparency and accountability. Let's get started where we finished off with Trump-Epstein FBI files. Every time I watch the news, one pattern keeps emerging since the 2024 election. People, countries, politicians, diplomats, whatever you call it, keep pawning off the exact same questions every single time Donald Trump does something. Who is next? Who is he targeting next? What is he going to do next? Who is he going to go to war with next? Well, for us little people, outsiders watching in, unfortunately, who always suffer the brunt of it all, let's go into a crystal ball for a minute. Because it's all written for us clear as day in plain sight in the 2025 presidential transition plan. Let's start with China. Pressure tests. First, it was TikTok. By the way, I hope by now you know he's not Chinese. The man is Singaporean, but he did the TikTok. Got control over that. Next, tariffs. Continuing to threaten, impose back and forth. But I don't think he's done yet because this is the DoD policy. It states the 5 countries on which this administration should focus its attention and energy are China, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, and North Korea. He got Venezuela and Maduro, and is currently holding the Venezuelan president and the first lady hostage in a jail cell in New York. Now Iran. But I don't think he's done with China just quite yet, and this is why. Because this is the official policy on China. China apparently aspires to dominate Asia and then from that position become globally prominent. If Beijing could achieve this goal, it could dramatically undermine America's core interests, including by restricting U.S. access to the world's most important market. Preventing this from happening must be the top priority for American foreign and defense. Beijing presents a challenge to American interests across the domains of national power. But the military threat that it poses is especially acute and significant. Military. China is undertaking a historic military buildup that includes increasing capability of power projection not only in its own region, but also far beyond, as well as dramatic expansion of its nuclear focus. Why did he go into Iran, supposedly? That could result in a nuclear force that matches or exceeds America's own nuclear arsenal. Maybe that's why China has not been attacked yet. They might still be figuring that part out when it becomes to, well, more than just terrorists. So, he got Venezuela, and he's holding Maduro and his wife in a jail cell currently, hostage. Snatch them out of their bed. Because the next administration had to make important steps to put communist abusers on notice. Isn't he in negotiations with Cuba as we speak right now? Wait, but if he invades Cuba, then he can't deport Cubans. Or is he just going to mess up the country and not allow them to migrate to the US? That's a whole other can of worms. But the Cuba crisis happening right now, because previously Cubans were allowed to move from one day at a time. For all those who watch it, if you know, you know. That's how I know. With the Cuban crisis, a lot of Cubans migrated to Miami and to the United States. But if he invades Cuba this time around, is he going to let Cubans migrate to the States like he did for the white South Afrikaners? But what I found to be the most interesting point for me was whether or not his buddy, his idol, Putin, knows that Russia is also in the crosshair. And that also made me think of something. Could someone in Trump's entourage actually be a strategist and playing the long game? Hear me out. This seemingly encouraging the Ukraine war to keep going for so long, with Putin bombing Ukraine so repeatedly and heavily, and Trump seemingly encouraging it, could be all in an effort to get Russia to deplete all its arsenal, its resources, and its body. So, when the United States is ready to hit them, they won't be able or won't have enough to fight back. And who is going to complain when the big bad wolf is taken out? We've seen how the world has responded to Iran's supreme leader, which is why I think he started with Iran. Every single thing that Trump is doing right now is a pressure test. Maduro was a pressure test. No one said anything. He got away with that. Now he's done Iran, still able to get away with it. To which I say, when he came for Ukraine and dog-walked Zelensky on the international stage, our TVs and screens, they said nothing. When he came for Venezuela and grabbed the president and first lady out of bed, demanding the vice president's peace prize, or else confiscating oil and national property, they did nothing. Let him keep it. Laughed, ignored, brushed off Trump Gaza, and now bombs are raining down on Persia. All of Iran, once celebrating in the streets, has half running for shelter, seeking cover, losing or lost loved ones, and still not one person has stopped. France, Germany, United Kingdom, UN Assembly, trying to keep the war far away from your borders by not saying anything. Mark Carney, saying you support Trump's actions in Iran, yet calling for Andrew to be removed from the royal line of succession. Will you be ready when he comes for you? Speaking of Andrew, apparently, according to The Sun, it is alleged that the palace itself leaked stories to The Sun when they want to, but apparently at the Duchess of Kent's past funeral, Andrew was desperately begging William for forgiveness. Makes sense that he would ask his brother Charles, who's currently king, because him and Charles have never gotten along, like we discussed in last week's catch-up. And on that note, let's get to this week's roundup. In the news with Epstein, guess what? The once deleted hidden Trump documents, specifically the 3 interviews with the now woman who accused him and Epstein of assaulting her when she was 13, have finally been released, and they're out. And our suspicions may have been right about the summary of call sheet that we read last week. I haven't looked at the full thing in detail, the full FBI transcript in detail just yet. We'll be doing that together. But what I can say is the first page/paragraph is very similar to last week's FBI call sheets that we read. But if that was all that I had for you today, just those interview sheets that were released, it would not be the unredacted truth. We may be able to finally get down to the nitty gritty and answer the was he or wasn't he an FBI puzzle and question. Let's get to the Epstein files. I am anxious to get started today. So once again, timestamps, show notes, and links are all below, as well as a link to the Substack where I upload each and every document we discuss during the episode to continue promoting transparency and accountability. Let's get started where we finished off with Trump's Epstein FBI files. Okay, so here is the FBI interview and reports that were taken about Trump and Epstein. If we remember from last week's episode, we know that the FBI put out fields for calls from people at information when this call came in. Okay, so the report states that on July 8th, 2019, DACT contacted the FBI National Threat Operations Center to report an unidentified friend who may have been abused by Jeffrey Epstein in an unknown manner. She states that recently she was informed by a female friend currently residing in Portland, Oregon, that she was forced to perform oral on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in the state of New Jersey. Her friend stated that she was approximately 13 to 14 years of age when this occurred. This friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing oral and described his heavy breathing. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting him. Okay, so similar to last week's reports that we read, the rudimentary reports, everything's the same. The only new detail is the heavy breathing. And pause, let's just see what happens when the voices come out. They are forced to give out the truth. Another reason, please guys, make sure you like, you comment, you follow. Reddit, 5-star rating on Spotify. Let's continue demanding accountability and forcing these people to tell us the truth. Anyway, sorry, let's keep reading. It goes on to say, the caller showed her friend a picture of Jeffrey Epstein on Monday, July 8th, so today, and asked her if she was abused by him as well. The friend stated yes to that question, but did not want to go into detail about the nature of her abuse. She did not have any further information regarding the incident and did not wish to provide her friend's name or friend's information at the time of her call to NTOC. She's going to check with her friend to see if it is okay to provide her information for any further questions. She's willing to provide additional information upon request by an agent. She wanted to make sure that if/when her friend is interviewed, that her identity is being protected. So at first, I did think this was the other 13-year-old who accused Trump. Reading more into it, approximately 13 to 16 is when I realized it's somebody else, and I was going to just skip over it because we're here for Trump specifically. Until I got to the second page. At the start of this interview, she advised she now felt comfortable enough to provide details regarding sexual and physical abuse she suffered at the hands of not only Jeffrey Epstein, but also certain individuals associated with him. Client list. She advised that she met Epstein, referred to as Jeff, through fraud and misrepresentation, and that he and others took advantage of her mother. She stated that Epstein blackmailed her mother through explicit photographs of her, which resulted in her mother embezzling from her real estate company to pay him. Sounds familiar? That's what Diddy did to Cassie's parents, who had to remortgage their house. Keeps going. She stated that her mother tried to buy back the photos and secrets over the years. Can we never let Diddy ever come back? Like, let's never uncancel Diddy. Okay, let's go back to the next nasty man. Witness FBI interview continues to read. A man named Jim Atkins, phonetic, a friend associate of Epstein, background of relationship unknown, participated with Epstein in blackmailing her mother. So now we have what? Co-conspirators. Atkins also sexually assaulted her on more than one occasion, described Atkins as a white male with gray hair, big ears, and hairy body. Atkins was possibly in his 50s in the early 90s and lived in Ohio. Atkins was somehow associated with Ohio University. Les Wexner's video. We were speaking about Ohio State University. He may have known the dean or the money guy at the school at some times. Atkins either owned or rented a residence on an island. I don't think it's Epstein's island because that's his only one, where he stayed when he came, maybe on a neighboring island. She stated that the home she and her mother lived in on the island would not have been nice enough for Atkins to stay in. She met Atkins long after Epstein began sexually assaulting her. She estimated she met him when she was approximately 14 or 15 years old and recalled meeting him in her mother's office. However, she did not know why he was in her mother's office initially. She could not recall her mother and Atkins were originally introduced. Atkins came off as a rich prick who would throw his weight around and talk about money. He would expect people to respond immediately to him. Atkins was a pervert and looked at her like she was a piece of meat. He developed a romantic relationship with her mother, who he claimed he loved, but her mother appeared annoyed with him at times. They dated for approximately a year, and Atkins would fly on and off the island to see her. She looked back on the relationship and thought her mother and Atkins may have been secretly dating. If he was married in Ohio, he was rude to her and her brothers. He had short temper and he was a drinker. Her brother would recognize Atkins, recalled seeing Epstein and Atkins together at least once at Epstein's house. She recalled it was most likely at the second house she knew him to live in while he resided on the island. Pedo alert! There we go. Justin, first segment, guys, is this horrible man Atkins. Let's continue to read her story. Atkins and his accountant, black male named Cecile, last name unknown, assisted her mother in fixing her real estate books so that she could embezzle funds and pay Epstein. At some point, Atkins and her mother had a falling out, and Atkins, Epstein, and possibly Cecile turned mother in to the real estate commission by proving her accurate real estate book records. Her mother was sent to prison for a period of time for embezzlement, and she was not able to pay the restitution ordered. She, as in the victim, was not aware of the blackmailing when it began to occur. Her mother informed her late into the process that they were in trouble, that she had seen photos of her and that she was paying people money. She recalled calling Atkins at the school. Oh, he was a teacher. It says she remembers calling Atkins at the school where he was employed. This is someone who's also assaulted her at 15 and 16 to see if he could help her mother, advised that the threat must have been very real because her mother was a very strong woman and it affected her substantially. After Epstein blackmailed her, her mother began to drink alcohol again. So it looks like her mother relapsed. Then she continued her chronological discussion of incidents involving Epstein. She detailed the fourth incident was involving two additional men, including Epstein. That is disgusting. This girl was 15 or 16. She describes them as fat and disgusting and seemed to have money. Then it goes on to say that she was asked more than once about the contact between herself and the men and what transpired during the fourth interaction. She did not recall the men's names. At the time on the interview, the victim then goes on to detail the fourth interaction with Epstein, which happened at the Marriott Hotel. Notice how they redacted who was in attendance. They gave us Jim Atkins because he appears to be, at least at first, nobody. because we still don't know exactly who he is. I thought he could have been that realtor, but then she mentioned him working at a school. But other than that, they've redacted everybody else. She goes on to let us know that when she showed up at the party, it was at the Marriott Hotel. And that it was the same thing with him asking her to bring her friends to party. And if she did not have friends to party, Epstein would send her on a mission to find young girls who wanted to party. Okay, then we go on to the fifth interaction, and apparently there was also other people present. She remembered other girls around and older men. Two of the men were fat and disgusting with Santa stomachs. More fat men hanging around. I am, in my head, I'm seeing Leon Black, but I don't know. No names mentioned, allegedly based off other videos and episodes we've seen. She goes on to state that with respect to recognizing other individuals, stated that Redacted Island was small. She knew most of the girls her age, and the fact that she did not recognize any of the girls partying with Epstein and his friends made her wonder where they came from. At first, I thought that this was Palm Beach Island. I'm like, Palm Beach Island? Is it Little St. James Island? So that caught me off where I'm like, wait, his friend's island? And then why I should be getting paid the bed bugs is we found out it was Hilton Head. This person, this victim was a Hilton Head. She lived on Hilton Head. So in this, she did say that one of the men that were there, Epstein's associates, he pulled her hair and beat the shit out of me. She's 15 or 16. She thought it was strange that he stomped on her big toe. He hit her with a belt or similar object. She had no idea what that was about. His abusive actions towards her were not sexual, except he masturbated at certain points. So he was beating her and masturbating at the same time. That is sexual, my love. That is a depraved fetish. It goes on to say it was a very long evening and it went into the morning. These are minor victims that they're having at these parties. So she goes on to say that the mother was not concerned. She was 15 or 16. The mother thought that she was probably staying over at her friend's house. Goes on to say that there are bruises. She did not go to the hospital, but she also doesn't remember anyone specifically pointing out bruises. She goes on to detail that Epstein took many pictures of her. Some of them were her full body and face. Some of them just her body, not her face. That she would be wearing his shirts during these photos, and that she remembers them to be crispy. And estimates between 6 and 20 sexual interactions with Epstein. One occasion that Dark was his name, no further information. Oh my goodness. So she goes on to detail that on at least one occasion, Epstein let her know that Dark was his time. So I'm reading that as he likes, like he's into dark shit. Like that's how he likes to have a good time. And she goes on to say that she was the main contact on the island, on Hilton Head, and that when they were with others, Epstein appeared to be the leader and others deferred to him. I was telling you guys before, when you read through the emails back and forth, he was like Daddy Epstein to everybody. It goes on to say that she tried to only speak with Epstein because his associates would abuse her. Quote, better to get him people to party with than to be partied on. She also advised that she felt shame about it and that she was drugged, which was not fine, but it was better than being sober with respect to the sexual abuse she endured by him and his associates. Remember, they were beating up this girl. She remembered that once she began introducing Epstein to girls she met on the beach, they came to an understanding that while the situation was horrible, it did not seem as horrible. And Epstein would call her his good girl. He acted as though he thought, you're my good girl now, and she began to feel and think it's either eat or be eaten. I think in this reference, she's talking about bringing the other girls to be partied on so she wouldn't be partied with scenario. And also in the bill exposing the system of elite trafficking video that I did, and in the depositions and civil suits witness statements as we continue, you will see and get to know that Epstein preferred like Girl Next Door, Good Girl, Virginia Tales, and the Billionaires Playboy Club anyway, is that if they were not white, they had to be like exceptionally beautiful. But Epstein specifically never liked girls that were damaged. So he didn't want girls to come see him that were doing drugs or like you could see something was going on in their lives. He called them damaged girls. Why? Most likely because Epstein wanted to break the girls. He liked to do the damaging, and that was also part of his sick fantasies, to break the innocence of these little girls. Then it goes on to say that she doesn't ever recall seeing another underage girl being abused during the time she knew Epstein, but she vaguely remembers hearing screaming and crying. But she was segregated and did not hang out with anyone else. So they separated the girls, it looks like. So she does not know whether there were group setting sex situations involving the girls. She was not asked or forced to participate in this. She goes on to detail a woman that was with Epstein that was neither black or white, black or Caucasian, but she had darker skin, wavy hair, and seemed miserable, poor, and just was kind of like hanging out there. She also lets us know that during her interactions with Epstein, she was always given alcohol, marijuana, and usually cocaine. Epstein's drink of choice was gin and tonic. He enjoyed listening to classical music, and he blared Neil Diamond. Moving on, she goes on to tell a story where her friend wore a new cologne, and it specifically repulsed her because instantly took her back, like PTSD. She instantly remembered that it smelled just like what Epstein used to like smell and had like a visceral reaction to it. So when she told them this story of her friend wearing this cologne and it like throwing her, like triggering her, they then did a call. They called this person on speakerphone, like unprompted. She told the story. They called the person on speakerphone and he did remember the experience. He thought maybe it was a gray flannel cologne, but he couldn't remember the actual cologne, but he did remember the experience. And then it also came up on the phone call that she had also told his wife what happened with Epstein when the whole cologne thing happened. The victim then goes on to detail a sixth incident involving Epstein. When she was 15 years old, she went to a Rick James concert with her friend and mother in Savannah, Georgia. How many other people heard in their head, "I'm Rick James, bitch"? Anyway, it goes on to say Epstein was at the concert and surprised her. When she saw Epstein, she knew she would have to leave with him. He goes on to say that Epstein had a flask and got her drunk, and she was also high on marijuana. Then he goes on to detail how this asshole isolates a 15-year-old from the responsible adults in the room, leaves her. Police pick this 15-year-old up, and then she goes on to say that the police photographed her and kept her alone in a real jail cell. She could not remember whether they fingerprinted her or if she was formally arrested. She did recall that she ate really good fried chicken in jail, and at some point her mother and brother picked her out. It's I guess Savannah, Georgia has some good fried chicken in jail. And color me shocked, it does involve Trump. I almost thought about just skipping over, but there we go. Here we finally are, Trumps. Goes on that she recalled one incident to which Epstein took her off the island when she was between 13 to 15 years old. He drove her and or flew her to either New York or New Jersey. She was introduced to someone with money. It was Donald Trump. She and Epstein were with others, to include Trump, in a very tall building with huge rooms. Trump did not like her from the get-go. He didn't like that I was a boy girl, referring to a tomboy. So, okay, this is different. This is a separate accusation against Trump. Because remember, guys, the girls thing that we read from the summary that I thought was very similar to this, she went to New York for modeling. So she wasn't taken to New York by Epstein. She was found by the recruiter on the streets of New York. So let's see what happened with Trump. So Trump hates her because she's a tomboy. Says could not recall the identities of the other individuals. However, they all laughed when Trump asked everyone to leave the room. Let me pause quickly here and give a warning. We could be getting into some more graphic content. Again, I haven't read the whole thing, but I do want to warn that we are or could be getting into some graphic content here. Okay, where were we? So Trump did not like her because she was a tomboy. Goes on to say she could not recall the identities of the other individuals present. However, they all exited when Trump asked everyone to leave the room. Trump mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Trump unzipped his pants and put her head down. Same story with the other thing. Like, he forces those little girls to do oral down to his penis, the shit out of it. Trump struck and said words to the effect of, "This little bitch the hell out of here." She advised she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. He had money. It reeked off of him. At that point, people re-entered the room and no further information was provided. She recalled a blonde, beautiful woman approaching her at some point that day after interaction with Trump. The woman said, "Let me give you a tip, little girl, about your breasts. Wear a bra every night." These words have stayed with her throughout the years. How many times do you think Trump's penis has been bitten by someone? I always used to think, like, even before this, if I was in this situation being assaulted and someone forces me to give them oral, first instinct, same here, bite down. I would Lorena Bobbitt him, minus the knife. Bare teeth, Lorena Bobbitt, if I was that girl in that situation. So kudos to her. Anyway, goes on to say that she got the feeling the relationship between Epstein and Trump included a certain amount of jealousy. Hold on to the jealousy. I'm going to bring it back for something else. Okay, so she thought Trump appeared jealous of Epstein, but at some point they ended up on level playing field. Trump and Epstein sometimes use the terms fresh meat, untainted, not jaded when referring to the girls. At the time she heard it, she did not understand the term not jaded. She subsequently looked up the word jaded, stated she had 2 additional interactions with Trump, but she asked that the interview move on to different subject for the time being. So she didn't even want to talk about Trump. Like, she was nervous. She just cut it off. Like, what the? That's crazy. And okay, the whole Trump being jealous of Epstein, Trump is jealous of Putin. And that might be a huge problem. Trump is jealous of Putin and butthurt that Putin does not respect him. And that's going to be a huge problem for the rest of us. Moving on. I digress. So it goes on to say the additional interaction with Epstein and his associates. Epstein asked her if she knew anything about acid. She replied that she did not. He asked her to try it first, then tell her friends where the party was going to be. Epstein gave her some of the acid to give to her friends. She did not recall hearing about acid on the island before Epstein introduced it, but she recalled that after he did, acid swept the island. Reflecting on the interaction she had with Epstein up to that point, advised that while she continued to be sexually abused by him, she began to feel like Epstein trusted her. The situation was still horrific, but she began to feel important. He knew she was keeping his secret, specifically the things he said in front of her. He did this with a lot of the girls. Even in the grand jury testimony, there's one girl who said, "Well, I was the main girl." Like, he made them feel special while abusing them. It's really messed up, but it's not new. It's not a new tactic whatsoever. Because even in the video that we detailed, the Rick Helton and Simpsons producer situation, even Virginia says at that point that it was very confusing for her, because in 1 second, like, it's assault, it's abuse, like, you hate it, it's painful, it's horrific, it's shameful, all the disgusting things. And then in the other split second or the other moments, like, he's taking them to watch movies, he's giving them advice, or they're going to parties and meeting celebrities. So it was really confusing for the girls to really wrap their heads around what was happening to them during this period of time, and also explains why these girls were with him, but some, like, they would stay with him forever. I call myself a one-hit wonder. I need a bad situation to happen once and never go back. A lot of the girls would go back over and over again, especially because a lot of them were at-risk youth and children. So that already made it hard for them to kind of, like, process what was really happening between the abuse and non-abuse of it. So they would end up staying with him for longer. The abuser always became the protector. Let me shut up. Okay, so she goes on to detail that on one occasion, she asked Epstein why Epstein, does those things to me, like to her. Like, why does he do what he does to her? Epstein responded by disclosing he had been molested as a child by a boy in his family and possibly his aunt. She thought the boy was either an uncle or a cousin. He definitely mentioned abuse by both a male and a female. Epstein was starting to say intimate things about himself. She was sharing, and it began to make her feel like she had some of the power. She recalled thinking at the time, wow, this is the same asshole who is horrible. Epstein had two sides to his personality. Looking back at the situation now, she stated Epstein was probably grooming her. Yes, he was, darling. She goes on to say that she became fascinated with the sexual interactions where he would be submissive to her. Now, I also remember Virginia details another girl in New York in the Billionaires Playboy Club, and I believe she was Asian. I don't remember exactly what country. No, not East Asian, but she was a dominatrix in New York. And when she said that, it makes sense that Epstein would like to be dominated. So she loved those interactions where Epstein would be submissive to her and that he would always keep it separately. So when he was physically abusive to her, when he was submissive to her in the bedroom, he would not be physically abusive to her. But every single time that he took her to the bedroom, or every single time that they were together, some sort of abuse would happen with Epstein. And then it goes on to say the only exception was the concert Rick James in Georgia, because they didn't have a place to get busy, which would make sense as to why he dished the poor girl and she ended up in a jail cell. This paragraph looks like they're asking whether it has any weird fetishes. He liked to have little rubber things put into his, so he liked to be pegged. He asked her, she recalls inserting a pencil, a big eraser, and little rubber things, and a water bottle tube into Epstein's anus. Oh my goodness. For his sexual gratification, Epstein liked to be violated and dominated. He wanted her to take control. She recalled he turned into a different personality, and since it was her first time experiencing that type of behavior, she did not know what to do. Epstein liked her to use kitchen oil when she put things in his butt, instead of lubricant. And when he was younger, he could contort his body so that he could almost put his penis in his mouth. She asked him to show her, and he tried but was not successful. She was asked whether Epstein asked her to engage in a threesome. Epstein always wanted her to bring a friend, however, it never happened. Okay, never group, never threesome. He is disgusting. There was another footnote I had about this. I had a footnote. This paragraph took all my words away. Okay, see, oh yeah, now I remember. I had to get away from it for my brain to unfreeze, because you're gonna see there is some suspicious email. There was a lot of emails to Epstein from Boris about him experiencing trans women, and I wasn't sure whether or not it was a joke, or he was also interested in trans women as well. But this shows me that why Boris kept making those jokes or innuendos to Epstein was Epstein did also have an affinity for trans women. And then the last has Trump in it. So to round up her witness testimony, and this is an FBI interview, by the way, and she has lawyers present, so I would take this to be pretty credible. Goes on to say Epstein talked about blackmailing people in front of her. She was confident Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. She stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. She heard Trump talking about washing money through casinos. Oh my God, Kismet. The universe is leading us. You're going to see why. Hold on to your horses. She was not sure how she knew that, but she heard it at one point, stated that Epstein's blackmailing of her mother ruined her family. Asked agents to keep her safe by stating, throughout my life, Epstein's people have found me and have kept tabs on me. We have heard this over and over again. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Every time, like, I am left gobsmacked every single time. Okay, so the next interview is on August 30th, 2019. The interviewing agents asked to provide additional details regarding her first interaction with Donald Trump when she was approximately 13 to 15 years old in either New York or New Jersey, while she was also in company of Jeffrey Epstein. Clarified that when she previously said Trump struck her after she bit him on the penis, she provided further details that he pulled her hair and punched her on the side of the head. With respect to the mother, her mother is deceased. Recalled her mother spent 2 years in federal prison in Columbia, South Carolina, around the time she was 17 or 18. Mother's sentence was related to embezzlement conviction connected to being blackmailed by Epstein and Jim Atkins over explicit pictures of her. So, Diddy is playing these dirty men play from the same playbook. Goes on to say, asked whether Epstein had a sibling. Mark Epstein, I don't trust the brother. I don't trust Mark Epstein. Did you guys know when I was doing the deep dives, I don't think I saved it. I think it was kind of like a footnote on Mark Epstein. Do you know Mark Epstein also among the businesses that his brother Jeffrey Epstein helped him start was a modeling agency? Creepy. They're all disgusting. Moving on. She asked whether Epstein had a sibling. The investigative agents inquired as to what made her think he had a sibling. Replied she recalled there was a man, possibly a brother of Epstein, that she recalled from the past. Keep going. Since the sexual assault suffered at the hands of Epstein and his associates, okay, she didn't say anything about Mark specifically, she was threatened numerous times. Remember, we also heard that from the other victim who had to drop her lawsuit, canceled the press conference, and went MIA. Goes on to recall that the first death threat was 16 or 17 years of age. She was living in South Carolina. Her mother had been arrested for embezzlement and could not pay the restitution. She called Atkins at the university where he worked. So he worked at a university. She recalled she asked him why he fixed her mother's real estate books, only to later turn her mother in to the police. Atkins responded to her by stating words to the effect that he did not give a shit if you end up in the gutter. Don't ever contact me again. Your mother knows what will happen. She goes on to detail some of her mother's threat stalking experience, and she says that her mother received a call from someone who said they're Kevin O'Keefe, and this person was impersonating the mother's doctor's office, and she believed that this person was from Epstein, and then she mumbled, oh, the other one. When they asked who the other one was, she verified that she thought Trump. Okay, so next paragraph, she lets us know that Epstein and his associates, she was asked how many times she thought she received the calls, and she did not. She could not say an approximate number, but it was numerous times. That in the beginning, the threats were regular. As time went on, they became more sporadic. During the past 4 years, the threats increased a little from one or the other. When asked to clarify what she meant one by or the other, she stated she did not wish to further discuss that comment at this time. The last 4 years. This was taken in 2019. 4 years would be 2016. 2016 would be when he was first running for president. Do we remember that there was emails between Epstein and Epstein associates about Trump before anything even came out about Trump, saying that there would be allegations coming out. So it makes sense that as soon as Trump knew he was running for president in 2016, he put out his henchmen to go and find these women and start silencing them. Because you can see she's very fine talking about Epstein and what Epstein does, but every time they try to bring it to Trump, she redirects because of threats. And we already know what happened to the other girl. It goes on. So she's still detailing about all the threats that she got. Says during the last incident, which she clarified may have happened 2.5 to 3 years ago, she was driving on an interstate in Washington between 6 and 7 a.m. when she took the first exit near a gas station in a traffic circle. A male driver positioned his car on her ass and slammed into her. These people are aggressive. Someone slammed into her. But also, guys, remember when we were reading the police notes, they were showing up to victims' houses. Roy Black and Dershowitz, private investigators, were showing up to these girls' like parents' homes and intimidating people. They forced, I believe it was the 14-year-old girl, victim A. Oh, the things they did to her. We'll circle back. Victim A, they forced her parents to drive off the road as well. So like, this that we're hearing right now is not new. It's been detailed. It's been shown as a tactic that Epstein has also done with victims to silence them. Okay, so that looks like that's that for there. And then this is another one. This now is the 22nd. So 2 days after, they do another interview. Says, while previously scheduling the interview with a special agent on the telephone, advised she started working with attorneys, stated she wanted to be upfront with agents regarding her pending civil case in the event that agents determined a conflict of interest. Okay, so prior to being asked questions, the agents asked her whether she could do audio recording interview, that she was not comfortable being recorded at the time. Previously mentioned she had contact with the current U.S. President Donald Trump while she was a minor. She previously explained the contact was facilitated through Epstein. Asked whether she was comfortable detailing her contact with Trump, she again asked what the point would be providing the information at this point in her life when there was strong possibility nothing could be done about it. She did not want to talk about Trump at all. The agents were asked to go home after. So she refused to go into further detail about Trump. So as I was reading this, I was thinking, oh, civil lawsuit, maybe it was the other girl, the same girl, but then the other girl had way more details. So that is separate from the allegations that we read from the FBI call-in tip sheet that they forgot to take out, because it wasn't, I guess, officially typed up like this. But this appears to be a different girl from that 13-year-old girl. But also that 13-year-old girl, which I'm not surprised makes sense, it was a friend who called in first and then got the ball rolling. All right, yeah, so that's it. So this is this victim's tale and stories on what happened to her and her abuse from the age of 15 to 16. Between Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Let's go on to the next FBI. That's not all. There is one more. What? Okay, guys, now it's time to connect the connections. We have heard it be rumored, being suspected that Epstein was an FBI informant, but we haven't had any proof. We have also heard Trump put in himself that he was the one who actually reported Jeffrey Epstein to the FBI because he was such a disgusting man. He said that. And also, I want you to remember, Trump told the previous victim in what we just read that he talked about washing money in casinos. So for the last 6 to 8 months, I've been looking for proof of whether or not Epstein was a CIA agent or FBI agent. Figuring there'll be proof out there somewhere. Difficult. Could not find anything. I did find an FBI informant form, or was it CIA? I don't remember. Informant form with a Dr. Epstein on it, but it was in 66, but so it wouldn't make sense because if Epstein was born in 52, he would have been like 14 or something when it happened. Could not be 66 exactly, but he would have been like 12 or 14 when that report was taken. I know they say he was a prodigy, but would it make sense for him to be a CIA FBI informant at 12 and 14? I was so focused on Epstein that I had found this 1981 FBI report. Not on Epstein, Trump. Yes. Trump. And I found this so long ago. The only reason I found it was because I lost what we just read as soon, like a few minutes, whatever, after I downloaded, I completely lost it on the hard drive. So I had to search with FBI when this popped up. Because this was about Trump, I kind of just put it to the side. But let's read what this says. Sir, I don't think you're gonna see this. Well, no, you're gonna see this after this. I truly believe people out there are watching. They're listening, they're watching. It seems like they're following us when it comes to releasing the files. So you might be hearing this from somewhere else, but trust me, you got this from here for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, this was taken September 22nd, in 1981 by supervising agent Damon Taylor of the FBI. You're gonna freaking laugh. It's so crazy. I can't believe I found it. This is crazy. So this FBI report reads, in early April of 1981, writer Supervisor Damon T. Taylor in New York was contacted by case agent and was advised that this agent's source, had a business relationship with Donald Trump and Robert Trump of the Trump Organization. The source in this case owns a piece of property along with other partners in Atlantic City, upon which the Trump Organization wants to build casinos. We just read the victim testimony that Trump talked about washing money through casinos. Let's keep reading. In early April 1981, writer and case agent met with Donald Trump. The purpose of this meeting was for Donald Trump to express his reservations about building a casino in Atlantic City. Trump advised agents that he had read in the press media and had heard from various acquaintances that organized crime elements were known to operate in Atlantic City. Trump also expressed at this meeting the reservation that his life and those around him would be subject to microscopic examination. So by who? By the police? Is that what he's saying? He wanted to build a casino in Atlantic City, but he did not wish to tarnish his family's name. Agents advised Trump that he should carefully think over his decision to build in Atlantic City and carefully prepare not only methods of securing employees' honesty, but also corporate integrity. Trump advised that he wished to cooperate with the FBI if he did decide to build a casino. The agents that were present advised him that although they were not in a position to speak for the FBI or to guarantee anything, that if he in fact wished to build in Atlantic City and decided firmly on this matter, they would be glad to rediscuss the situation without making any commitments. After this initial meeting in New York, the New York office began to research Atlantic City and its various regulating bodies, as well as what evidence existed regarding organized crime influence in the city. And at an Atlantic City conference, writer discussed with bureau officials that the resident agency, the possibility that a proposed casino owner might be willing to cooperate with the FBI. In June 1981, writer met again with Donald Trump and Robert Trump, during which they advised that they felt confident that they wished to build a casino in Atlantic City. Trump advised writer, who was in the presence of the case agent, that Donald Trump, wished to provide full disclosure during the construction phase of this casino, and subsequently, once the casino was operational, Trump stated in order to show that he was willing to fully cooperate with the FBI, Trump suggested that they use undercover agents within the casino. Writer advised Trump that he could not speak for the FBI and he could not make any agreements. Trump asked writer his personal opinion regarding whether he should build in Atlantic City. Writer advised Trump on a personal level, not as a matter of bureau policy, that he thought there were easier ways that Trump could make money. He bankrupted the casino multiple times. How do you bankrupt a casino when you're money laundering through it, Trump? Now that is some messed up stuff. That's who he voted to save your economy, people. Not only did he bankrupt a casino, but he was money laundering in it. Trump asked Ryder if he could attempt to introduce him to appropriate officials in the FBI with whom he could discuss this matter. Ryder advised Trump he would research and contact him. So let's see where we are at this point. At this point, Ryder initiated steps with New York office and the Atlantic City resident agency to began planning an undercover proposal concerning what Trump proposed. This proposal, now in thoroughly finished state, was to be discussed with Trump by the Special Agent Committee of the New York office and New York with Trump by the SACs of the New York office and New York office on October 1st, 81. And then September 21st, 81, returned the call of Donald Trump and talked to Donald and Robert Trump via telephone. Trump advised that he traveled to Trenton, New Jersey on Wednesday of the previous week and met with DGE official Mickey Brown. Trump advised that Brown told him that he had no problem with Trump's background and expected him to be licensed in the immediate future. Oh, maybe like the licensing board. Where are we? According to Trump, further stated that he had one problem and that involved captioned source. The source. Okay, so Trump advised that Brown told him that he had no problem with Trump's background and expected him to be licensed in the immediate future. Brown, according to Trump, further stated that he had one problem and that involved captioned source. So the source that we heard from in the beginning. So who is friends with Trump? Trump stated that Brown told him that the source was not candid with DGE regarding some questions and that this might draw out the investigation. Trump advised Ryder that he told Brown of Source's relationship with the FBI. Okay, so Trump stated that Brown told him that Source was not. Okay, so Trump advised that he also told Brown that Source had. Okay, so he goes on to say that on September 21st, 81, Ryder returned a call from Donald Trump and talked to Donald and Robert Trump on the phone. Ryder then traveled to Trenton, New Jersey on a Wednesday of the previous week and met with DGE. Trump advised Ryder that he traveled to Trenton, New Jersey on Wednesday of the previous week and had met with DGE official Mickey Brown. Trump advised that Brown told him that he had no problem with Trump's background and expected him to be licensed in the immediate future. Brown, according to Trump, further stated that he had one problem and that involved captioned source. Trump stated that he told Brown that Source was the first individual to preach honesty to him regarding his dealings in Atlantic City. Trump advised that he also told Brown that the source had introduced him to two agents of the FBI. Okay, go on. Trump stated that Brown told him that the source was not candid with DGE regarding some questions and that this might draw out the investigation. Trump advised Ryder that he told Brown of a source's relationship with the FBI only in the sense that it might nip things in the bud and prevent future problems. Trump stated that he talked with Brown about nothing of a substantive nature, particularly involving any proposed undercover activity. On the same day, Ryder and case agent talked with Source. Source advised that he had been interviewed by DGE approximately a month and a half ago. DGE asked for documentation regarding Source's business activities. Source advised that his attorneys had inadvertently not sent DGE the appropriate documents, however, would do so now. Source further advised that DGE officials asked him about his relationship with the FBI based on a stack of newspaper clippings which DGE officials had access to. Source declined to answer the question. Listen, it should be advised that Trump is not aware of Source's relationship with FBI and knows only that the agent knows only that the contacting agents are acquaintances. However, Ryder and a case agent have repeatedly told Trump that they were not references for Source and cannot speak for Source's business dealings. So they're trying to be like, no, he's not. The Trumps have advised Ryder and case agent that Source is involved as a labor consultant to his firm. I think I know who Source is. Well, I think we all know who Source is when we see labor consultant. They're aware that this is a very rough business and that source knows people, some of whom may be unsavory by the simple nature of the business. On the 21st of September, the same day, Source contacted Mickey Brown of DGE at Trump's request. Before Source could elaborate on the matter of his call, Brown told him that Brown, was attempting to talk with the New York division of the FBI to verify some conversations that Trump had had with Source. Source told Brown he was calling regarding a different matter and that his attorney had not sent the appropriate business documentation to Brown. Source asked that he would do so now. According to Source, he then asked Brown, "Is there anything else?" To which Brown responded, "No." On the same day, Brown called the New York division and advised, he called the New York division regarding Source. SAC New York advised Brown that he would get back to him. New York called Ryder regarding this conversation with Brown and the matter of future response. It should be emphasized that Trump advised Ryder he did not talk with Brown about anything concerning the proposed undercover activity. It should further be emphasized the Source is not aware of the matter of this proposed activity. So that was the full Donald Trump Epstein interview talking about Source. I have a feeling 97% certain allegate that Source is Jeffrey Epstein in this. And why? Well, because we've had all the rumors of isn't he a CIA spy? Those rumors have been going on about Jeffrey Epstein for a long time, but we had no proof. It looks like even with this, the FBI themselves were trying to hide it from Trump during the meeting, and they denied it when Mickey Brown called and inquired about Source is one of the things. The second thing, now I did look and see if Epstein had owned any properties or was listed or ever listed on properties in Atlantic City as it mentioned here, but it said that he owned properties along with partners. So it could have been kind of like an LLC thing or a group of people getting together. I know even with the New Albany project, that was the one with Les Wexner. That's just off the top of my head that I can think of a real estate deal that he helped with. And what was I going with? Yeah, the New Albany project. It was a whole bunch of people. It's a real estate deal. That's just the first one that came on my mind, and that was with Les Wexner. Then the other thing that makes me believe that is Epstein, who is the source in all this, is that, what was the other connection that I had about Mickey Brown? The other reason why I think that it is Epstein is because he was always in Atlantic City and flying to Trump's casino. We have tales of it by Virginia. Virginia talks about going to Atlantic City, and other victim depositions talk about Atlantic City. So I believe in this scenario, on March 8th, I believe we may have found a conclusive answer to whether or not Epstein was an FBI informant. The answer is we're 97% sure that Epstein was, yes, an FBI informant. But the most ridiculousness, you're from Jersey. That's where the mob is. Donald Trump, this man with his big head in 81, picked up a phone and called the FBI to offer himself up as to be an informant. Not only that, was the one who proposed and suggested that they have undercover FBI and agents in his casinos in order to help them with organized crime. Organized crime. It's 81. Was Gotti there? Was he going after the mafia in Trump was? Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to point out, remember, we just read the victim. There we go. She says Trump knew Epstein blackmailed people because she heard Epstein and Trump talking about it. Stated she knew Trump had illegal building permits. DGE, Mickey Brown. And number 6, Donald, what? Number 6 is Donald's favorite number, and that he was washing money through casinos. Okay. So this is my, what's the word? I don't know. This is me connecting the dots here. I believe Trump wanted to start a casino, but he was like, wait, I am Donald Trump. If I start a casino, they're definitely going to look into me and my family and what we're doing for the business. So I suspect Trump, in his stupid ways, thought that he could go ahead, like cut it off, like work ahead. And by offering to do this for the FBI, they wouldn't be able to notice and catch him while he's doing his shady stuff within the casino himself. Like, hey, like what person, like, well, he made it to president. So the idiot, the fool, this is the best interpretation of the fool and the fool card. The fact that now he's president, but one person with good common sense, of all people that you want to give up to protect yourself, to sacrifice in order to protect yourself, you go for the mob. It is a miracle that this man survived. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, that is it. We just found out. Donald Trump, 1981, before building the Trump Casino, called the FBI and asked them, FBI, as a pick-me, pretty please, can I help you catch the bad guys and organized crime and mafia in Atlantic City? You can even put your undercover agents in my building. Donald Trump. And then, of course, he ended up, bankrupting it twice or three times. Who bankrupts some? He was, let me leave that. Money laundering and bankrupts it still. Multiple times. Isn't that pretty fail-safe? I'll leave it there. Okay, now that we're done with Trump and the FBI files and forms, I don't know what else is going to come out with Trump. Let's switch over to the man of the hour, Bill Gates.